Hi, it's the 31st of January 2026. I'm Gary Waterman, former UK Police Constable. Welcome to part 3 of the evidence in relation to the Wayfair scandal, where it appears as though furniture and other items are being used to hide the laundering of money, and how that links in with the sex trade and crimes against children. According to all of this, we have to assume that it is real and that it's really part of all of this at the moment, until we know or identify it is a deception. In the last video, we came in from, in the last couple of videos, we came in from Wayfair Limited, and we made links into key areas of fraud already, and apparent connections into the Church of Satan, Peter Gilmore, Sasha Stone, various other parts of my research were connected to in all of this. And what we were looking at was an organization called AWE that we came across via this company, this Wayfair company. And it was AWE International Group PLC. And it was incorporated in 2015 and has a registered address of Canada Square, Canary Wharf. Now, we've already seen Sherborne connections just prior to this. Well, now we have Canary Wharf. Well, Canary Wharf links to the leader of Qatar, and the leader of Qatar was actually educated in Sherborne in Dorset, which is a big part of all of this. It's where my wife's former employer had a dentistry surgery called Charles Sherwin that links to the Virgin Foundation and to criminal United Nations companies. Also a company called Treasure Islands Kids Company, I think it's called, or something similar to that. Anyway, so this company was incorporated in 2015, immediately links to Canary Wharf building, which means the link to the Israel attacks in 2023. It also makes the connections via the research into the Manchester Arena bombing of 2017. The incorporation document has a Faye Redmond, Italian Romano Maria Gaia of Monaco, and Italian Giammatteo Pucciano. Now, that Italian connection is going to be very likely relevant, and is very likely going to make that link into the Vatican in all of this. Its filing history shows that on the 29th of April, let's just get rid of that. 29th of April 2016, its registered address was changed to the Shard, 32 London Bridge Street, London, an address used throughout the fraud and linked to the research of the World Trade Center disaster and the Madeleine McCann case in my document. 2016 is when the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed. Faye Kensal is shown in the People record, and when clicked, it changes to Faye Redmond. So I'm just going to show you this. AW International, incorporated in 2015. You can see all the previous names. Last changed January 2000, after the COVID outbreak deception. The same month that, which is all related, that Prince Harry suddenly left for America. And you can see it's got Canada Square, Canary Wharf. And that means the links to the leader of Qatar again, which means the connection to Sherborne that we already came to. There's OCS, corporate secretaries, that we were looking at. And Faye Kensal. Now what? See the name? Faye Kensal. Look what happens when I press it. Okay, so it should just show her name again. Doesn't it? Changes to Faye Redmond. All right, let me just do that again so you can see it. Press it. Changes to Faye Redmond. This is where Companies House, our government, have doctored the electronic register. They've done something to it to make it change. That should not happen. That is serious criminal fraud straight away, right there by our government. Okay. Now, if we go into this, we'll see different company names, and I can't remember what one we want to look at. But all of these become very, very relevant. They make major connections into even to the rapid response now. Rapid response teams. I've made links from this. Let's go. I think it's Anglo-Swiss. Now, this obviously makes a Swiss connection. And you can see Anglo-Swiss. It was incorporated in 2016 when the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed, when Donald Trump's, after this, I think, Donald Trump's first Democratic effort to become the prime president. And then obviously he became the president in 2017, the year after the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed. And you notice it has the Savile Row Manufacturers Company as its original name. Savile Row Manufacturer Company Limited. It dissolved in 2019, leading up to the Pizzagate, the COVID deception. I'm just going to need to look on my notes where we go from here. Faye Kensal was shown in the Liverpool record, as we said, and when clicked, it changes to Faye Redmond. I've seen this happen only a few times, and it appears to be a company's house tampering with the records. This record connects to 66 companies, including Anglo Swiss Holdings Limited, that was incorporated as the Savile Row Manufacturer Limited in 2016 as the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed, before its name was changed. Please record this, everybody. Please record this. They're getting rid of all of my videos. I've now noticed there's 7 videos have fairly recently been removed from my YouTube channel where they don't want this evidence getting out. So please record it, re-upload it, email me for the document. The document is what is going to change this. The document needs to be disseminated around the world. Obviously, I'm updating it every now and then, and this is going to be going in the next document going out. My email address is GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. It dissolved in February 2019, leading up to the COVID deception. It has Ex-Eater Investments Limited on its incorporation document. Roberto Pucciano connects AWE International Group PLC to 11 companies, including Ex-Eater Investments, that we just mentioned. It was incorporated on the 29th of March 2012. Less than a month before Jeffrey Epstein appears to have held a meeting with Stephen Hawking and CERN scientists. It has Alefa Zero AG of an address in Switzerland. Now, AG companies generally relate to Germany, so we have a apparent German connection here. And Carlo Palenda of an address of Italy is on its incorporation document. A separate search for Alefa Zero AG reveals it was incorporated in 1999. I'm not going to go into the verification of this bit because I want to get to the more important stuff. Or the stuff that you will sort of realise how relevant it is. And it dissolved, incorporated in 1999, dissolved in 16th of July 2019, 10 days after Jeffrey Epstein's apparent arrest. It has L&A companies on its incorporation document and in its people record, making important connections to the fraud, the earthquakes, Collider Technology, David Beckham, to my families, as well as shown elsewhere in the documents. And that's coming in from that company, but we're going to get to the relevant stuff here. So Roberto Pucciano also connects AWE International to Savile Row Bespoke Tailors Limited. It was incorporated as Savile Row Tailors Limited. Oh, wrong spelling. Tailors Limited on the 29th of July 2022, 6 days after Anthony Roberts of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited resigned, which triggered my investigation. And its name was changed on the 8th of August 2022, a month to the day after I approached Anthony Roberts of Exbourne Manor that triggered the whole investigation. All right, so I approached him. He then resigned a few days later. So if we go into the record, so we want Pucciano within this company. This one we're in. No, let's go back. Roberto Pucciano. There's the Zeta company, and there we have Savile Row. Now, there's a lot of other interesting companies that we'll come to another time in this document. Savile company. But this one for now is what we need to look into. And you notice he resigned, appointed 2023. So that's as I'm starting to escalate the fraud, the exposure of the fraud. You can see Savile Row Bespoke Tailors. We have Jubilee House, which is, again, features throughout the fraud. So it was incorporated not long after Anthony Roberts resigned, which was the 13th of July 2022. This is the same month that a experiment was conducted at CERN on the 5th of July. And the day afterwards, the Georgia Guidestones were damaged and then removed. The Georgia Guidestones represented an upcoming man-made apocalypse, and they had originally been put in place in Georgia in the United States in 1980. And there's a lot of research from that as well. It says about keeping the population below 500 million. And also July is the same month that Elon Musk's brother purchased a drone company, right? So they realized probably I'm going to be, as I keep saying, that there's probably something they know about me. And they realized that I was going to start unraveling everything. So Elon Musk's brother bought a drone company that same month. That then led to their plan, it seems, to use the drones to make you believe that there is to make you believe there is a alien invasion risk in all of this, possibly, because that gives them the ability, you see, as a way out of, or they hoped it would give them a way out of this international criminal network that they've had in place, and somehow linking that with aliens. The company dissolved in 2023, which is the year I'm escalating the international government fraud. And you can see the original name here was Savile Row Tailors. And you can see it changed. They changed the name. Okay, they changed the name not long afterwards, you can see. So, let's go back. I've seen many connections to Savile Row addresses throughout the research, but had not focused on it until now. Research shows that Savile Row is a street in Mayfair. Interesting, we're talking about Wayfair. I keep saying Mayfair. Well, we've got a street in Mayfair. Central London, known principally for its traditional bespoke tailoring for men, the street has had a varied history and has included accommodating the headquarters of the Royal Geographic Society at 1 Savile Row, where significant British explorations to Africa and the South Pole were planned, and more recently the Apple office of the Beatles at 3 Savile Row, where the band's final live performance was held on the roof of the building. Originally named Savile Street, it was built between 1731 and 1735 as part of the development of the Burlington estate. Now, I can't remember the name. It was obviously somebody from the Savile family, or a Savile family. I suspect it's going to be related to Jimmy Savile, but it doesn't say that. But I suspect it will be. Initially, the street was occupied mainly by military officers and their wives. Now, the military is massively complicated by this. All heads of military, and in fact, if I could at the moment, I would remove, not harm them, not cause suffering, just remove them and put them somewhere where they're looked after to resolve this. All military personnel, all police, okay, I would just remove them away because they're clearly not doing anything. And unfortunately, I have to consider that they're all compromised by this at the moment. So initially, it was occupied. We have this military connection. Founded in 1849 by Henry Huntsman, H. Huntsman and Sons, moved to number 11, Savile Row. Remember, we have the Huntsman connection into Sherborne. They moved into 11 Savile Row after the war in 1919. During the First World War, Huntsman's was a tailor to the military, producing dress uniforms for British officers. In 1886, the company earned its first royal warrant as leather breeches maker to HRH, the Prince of Wales. The Huntsman building was used as the facade for the Kingsman shop for Matthew Vaughan's blockbuster movie franchise Kingsman. Now, unfortunately, there is a huge amount of evidence that suggests the skinning of children alive in all of this, and that the skin of those children may be being used to make shoes and other clothing. Now, this is very likely going to tie into this with what we're seeing here. I can't quite believe I'm, having to seriously consider this, but the evidence is overwhelming. And in fact, the evidence is overwhelming to suggest, and I hope that it has been set up as a deception, but at the moment, with all of this, I have to consider very, very strongly that it's real, that Prince Harry was wearing the skin of Madeleine McCann in his shoes at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in July 2019. That is what all of the evidence suggests, and this would explain why he moved suddenly in January to America. Anyway, there's loads more evidence I could go into about that, but let's focus on what I've found here. Huntsman clients have included King Edward, various King Edwards, Winston Churchill, Rudolph Valentino, Lord Mountbatten. Very, very relevant, okay, in all of this, massively connected. And he links straight to the Isle of Wight, okay, which is where Deborah Fleming was an NHS CEO that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor. We also have Ronald Reagan, Mark Jacobs, and at the end there, Gianni Agnelli. Our research shows that they died in 2003, are an Italian industrialist and principal shareholder of Fiat, the car company. As the head of Fiat, he controlled 4.4% of Italy's GDP. He was the richest man in modern Italian history. So he and his family will no doubt have major connections to the Italian mafia and the Vatican, which then links into the Cray twins and the apparent infiltration of the royal family in the late 1950s and early 1960s. And this is very likely, and it is all linking into me and my family. My family used to associate with the Cray twins. A company's house search shows a company called H. Huntsman and Sons Limited that was incorporated as Brimford Limited in 2004. It has 10 Queen Street Place, London, as its registered address, which features throughout the fraud. Oh my goodness, missed a bit and I've done a mistake up there, but let me just do that bit whilst I'm here. The fraud, and it connects immediately to major areas of the fraud and apparent crimes against humanity by Ian Saunders and MCS companies on its incorporation document. Just show you this quickly because we're going to go into it and show. And then in a minute, you'll see information linking into potentially Paul McCartney having died and then replacing him with a fake Paul McCartney in the Beatles. So we have Huntsman and Sons Limited, incorporated in 2004, 10 Queen Street Place. I'm not going to worry about it because you won't understand that name on the document unless you have my document and you verify the links through there. So, but we're going to go in through this company. Pierre-Philippe Alexandre Lagrange connects this company to 20 companies, including Ping Pong Galore Limited, that was incorporated in 2012, and connects to the collaborative international deception of world leaders by the Formations Company on its incorporation document. That also links to a rapid response company. All right, we're linking in with this group that was set up as I was starting to expose the international government fraud, and where Mikey P, or whatever his name is, threatened to actually steal my home and my motorhome. And my motorhome was actually stolen in the end. So the rapid response and everyone associated with them is really, really significant in all of this. Okay, and I've got lots of evidence now supporting all of this, and this would be why they tried targeting me over my ring. Okay, including Bannerman, or whatever his real name is, Mark, whatever, massively implicated in the deception against all of humanity. All right, all of these people. So let me just show you this. So if we go into it, Philip Grange connects to Ping Pong. They're either, I mean, they're obviously massively implicated in this. It's possible, because they're linked into my family, that they know who I am and they're having to portray that they are against me to protect themselves in all of this. It's possible, but at the moment I don't know that. So we have Huntsman horses, so it links into the hunting side of things with, literally fox hunting, etc. So we have Ping Pong Galore. Now that had featured in the research of Comet Ping Pong, okay, which links to the Pizzagate scandal. We have Ping Pong Limited comes up in that, and notice the address, Lansdowne House, Lansdowne Road. That then links into the research of the Knights of the Society of the Knights of the Round Table, which connects into me very quickly, the school that I went to, my former school. So you have Ping Pong Galore. incorporated December 2012, which is the year that CERN supposedly discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. How long have we been? 20 minutes. So we'll do another 10 minutes or so. That's it. I was going to show you the incorporation document. So this, what I'm showing you now, connects into, and I'm not going to go into show, because you can verify this from the document by watching my other videos, the ones that they're not taking down. You'll see the formationscompany.com. And this links international world leaders now into this, and therefore the apparent potential skinning of children alive, all linking in with Savile's Row. And this includes the leader of Iran, Benjamin Netanyahu, of Israel, Donald Trump. I've linked it to the leader of Greenland. So that means everything we're seeing is a absolute international collaborative deception in relation to the Greenland thing. The leader of Denmark. It also links to the leader of China. Very quickly into this. All basically world leaders of developed nations are involved in this international government fraud and deceptive crime against all of humanity. They're all in on it. And it goes right back to the Reformation, 700 years ago, probably well before that as well, where they've had this time to position everybody and deceive all of humanity for the ultimate agenda of theirs. And it all links in with the Vatican. This company connects to, the formationscompany.com connects to Fleming Co. Limited as well. It was incorporated in 2017 after Donald Trump was positioned, after the Pizzagate scandal was being exposed. And that then links in to a company called LegalZoom that was started in 2001 when the World Trade Center disaster happened. And that connects into Hollywood. And LegalZoom is a online legal advice. So that removes any, or they believe it will, try and remove any accountability and liability for their international criminal network as they centralize everything and then try and enslave everybody into a full digital control, okay, and potentially even end all of creation, which a lot of them won't even know about that agenda. And it enables that removal of the accountability and liability, because if you're getting legal advice not from somebody in person and it's an online, then you're breaking that chain of accountability and liability. All right, and you could say that it's a virtual advice. Well, how can you have any accountability and liability with on a human basis with a machine or with a virtual legal system? And that actually, the LegalZoom then connects back into Ingenious Film Partners, which Ingenious Film Partners 2 links directly with friends that I grew up with and my family connections then. And also it's on page 40 of the incorporation document of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. That links pretty much all areas of the fraud. So you have this ping pong company appearing to make reference to the skinning of children alive via the Pizzagate scandal. It also has Kensington Palace Gardens on its incorporation document. I'll just show you that quickly, because this is an address that has been linked to the royal family via companies. So there it is, Kensington Palace. And the Lagrange name becomes relevant, okay? Critically, Lagrange also connects to Lansdowne House Residents Association Limited that makes critical connections to Ghislaine Maxwell, Pegasus companies, and the apparent funneling of billions linked to Atlas Holdings as the exposure continued. Atlas Holdings links to apparent missing nuclear weapons as well. So it all becomes relevant. And a message to those involved in this: if you attack humanity in any way, you will be facing the ultimate price, right? You can all be saved spiritually through full disclosure of the truth, full repentance, and a commitment to change. However, there will have to be consequences for those that were instrumental in this criminal network against all of humanity. Lagrange also connects to Savile Row Bespoke Limited, which has Cargill Management Services on its incorporation document, making immediate links to the fraud in the research of the St. Columbus Iona prophecy, which talks about the end of the world And I was being led to believe that may relate to nuclear weapons all being fired in one location as a secondary attack, I believe, against. Now, I believe that this is to portray the threat against humanity. Now, if it's real, we have to consider it is this threat at the moment against all of humanity. Nobody needs to be scared. Nobody needs to be frightened. You all just need to do the right thing. And that is to stand up in the right way, peacefully, legally, and with my strategy against the international collaborative system, which is criminal against all of humanity. This can absolutely be ended, and we can bring heaven on earth. So Lagrange is also connected to Savile Row Bespoke Limited, which has Cargill Management Services on its incorporation document, making immediate links to the fraud in the research of the St. Columbus Iona prophecy, and linking immediately to Angelina Jolie from Hollywood, and former Chief Constable for Dorset, Scott Chilton, as shown in the research of the COVID response elsewhere in the document. Let me just get rid of that. As shown in the research of the COVID response elsewhere in the document. Yeah, so it all links in with the COVID situation now by multiple connections. It's obviously all to do with this. And Scott Chilton is, as I've said, was the Chief Constable of Dorset Police at the time of me reporting this to them in 2022. What's the time? 26 minutes. We'll do another 3 or 4 minutes. The research shows Pierre-Philippe Alexandre Lagrange, so this person that we've got in this company, is a Belgian economist, hedge fund manager, financier, and co-founder of GLG Partners. And we know it's going to be him because the details will match, and there are GLG partner companies. His net worth is estimated at 500 million, most of stolen from the masses, I would think. And critically, he had previously worked at JP Morgan, meaning connections to the Flemings, because JP Morgan links to the Flemings pretty much in every company. You'll see the previous names were Fleming, and that is because the Robert Fleming was involved in international banking and was involved in the transition into Chase Manhattan Bank, I think it is, which links into JP Morgan. And Robert Fleming lived in Scotland, I believe, and one of the Flemings, I'm not too sure if it was him or Valentine, had a property right by Jimmy Savile in Glencoe, which means they would have known each other. And I've since found out that, as you know from my other videos or research, that Jimmy Savile had a property right near Exbourne Manor in Bournemouth, where this journey began for me, and that the incorporation documents from that company, the building for that company, link straight to Exbourne Manor and to my family again in Kent. So, going back to Savile Row, in 1969, Nutters of Savile Row, says it all, doesn't it? That they've told us, even in what their name is. Nutters of Savile Row modernised the style and approach of traditional Savile Row tailoring, a modernisation that continued in the 1990s with the new bespoke movement involving designers Richard James, Oswald Boateng and Timothy Everest. Nutters of Savile Row opened at 35A Savile Row on Valentine's Day in 1969. This is the same year that Charles became the Prince of Wales, and when the supposed moon landing happened involving NASA, one letter short of Satan. By Tommy Nutter, with Edward Sexton as head cutter. Interesting. I wonder if there's going to be any link there to Mark Sexton, former police officer from that family. I'm not saying there is, but he is not assisting. Okay, he's part of the deception, 100%. The two have been working together as Donaldson, Williamson and Ward, and Joseph Morgan, very likely a link to JP Morgan, as cutter, later joined by Roy Chittleborough. They were financially backed by British singer Cilla Black and her husband Bobby Willis. I need to look at them, but I'm going to find some evidence from them, I'm sure. Managing director of the Beatles Apple Cause, Peter Brown, and lawyer James Vallance White. Nutters was the first shop on Savile Row to pioneer open window and had bold displays created by the then unknown Simon Doonan, resulting in the shop helping modernise the perception of Savile Row. Nutters of Savile Row dressed the entire social spectrum, from the Duke of Bedford and Lord Montague to Mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, to Mick and Bianca Jagger, Elton John, who's linked to the fraud, and the Beatles. Their designs include Bianca Jagger's wedding suit. Tommy Nutter was proudest of the fact that the suits worn by 3 of the Beatles on the front cover of Abbey Road were made by Nutters. Now, we're at half an hour now, aren't we, or thereabouts? Come back for the next part and we'll be looking at the information surrounding the Beatles and where this all ties into other evidence being acquired. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. We'll come back at, what's the time now? We'll come back at 1 o'clock, so just under 10 minutes. So come back at 1 o'clock and we'll do part 4. Thanks very much, and please record them all. Thank you. Bye-bye.